Welcome back. We are going to be talking about Insecure season 3 premiere. Let's start. I feel like I'm going to go through it not chronologically, although maybe, but like mostly by character because honestly, I don't remember in what order things happen. Starting with Issa. She is living at Daniel's house. He is fucking everything in sight in front of her, which is petty. She has taken to Lyft, I think, as kind of a coping mechanism. We see her picking up Molly from the airport, coming back from her vacation because she just quit her last job. I think took a job with that black firm, which I'm like so thrilled about. Can't wait to see how that goes. So they go to lunch. They're like kikiing. They're laughing. They're best friends. We're all back together. Molly is telling Issa about like how she's putting everybody in their place in her life now. Everybody get in line, including Dro, which we will see if that holds up. And then Issa's telling Molly how, you know, she's living with Daniel and he's having sex with other women. She's fine with it just as long as he tells her about it and like blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we don't believe that either of them are fine, but then we cut to Issa at work, which if you'll remember, she's still in the doghouse for being complicit last season in a racist practice with the principal. Which is valid, you know, that was a huge fuck up. That was a super problematic thing that she did. But I feel like she's like really trying to remedy it and like do better. There's a scene where she goes and calls like all these schools that have canceled their partnerships with We Got Y'all. And she asks like why did this happen? Which I feel like is very valuable feedback. If you're wanting to create lasting partnerships in the future, it's good to know what you did wrong before. But she totally gets read the riot act by her boss, who I think just hates her now. And her boss is like, you're super problematic. I didn't ask you to do that. You keep sticking your nose in like where it doesn't need to be, like all this shit. And so she just gets like totally torn a new one. I was like, that feels kind of shitty. Also, Frida is her boss now, which is like a weird dynamic. But like, Frida's so sweet. So like, get it, girl. I'm proud of you. Rise the ranks. So then, going back to her and Daniel, she finally tells him like, hey, like, I would like a heads up when you're bringing somebody over so that I don't have to be here. There was like a different scene or whatever where he was like doing his music and she comes home and sees him and they like joke and like laugh a little bit. It's the first warm interaction that we've seen between them since the beginning of the show. But then he goes in for a kiss and she's like, oh. And he's like, wait a minute, like, why are you here? Like, why did you move in? Isn't it always this? And she was like, yes, it is, but like, I feel like we know better now. Let's do better. You see that? The theme of the show. So he's like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. It's like super weird and awkward. I think then it's over. I can't remember. I feel like that's the end of that scene. Anyway, after she gets read the riot act from her office or from her superior, he texts her saying like, I'm bringing somebody over. It is not the text you want to get like right after getting your ass ripped open by your supervisor. She's like, okay, fine. Like, I'm gonna just drive Lyft tonight then. So she goes and picks up Molly, who was supposed to meet Dro for a date to celebrate her new contract that she'd secured. But like, I don't know if that ever even happened. I feel like she stood him up. I don't know. She picks up Molly and they go driving around and they're picking up people and it's fun and And they pick up this super fine man named Nathan. They're flirting with him, like all this stuff. And then they pick up another guy, less fine. I don't even know his name. He gets in the car and he starts trying to light up a blunt. He says like, hey, can you not? He's like, oh, no, you fine. Then Nathan is like, homie, like she just asked you to stop. Like you have to stop. And so he grabs his blunt, throws it out the window. Homie does not take very kindly to that. And they get into a fight, full on fisticuffs. Issa pulls over the car. It's a mess. Nathan kicks the shit out of this big man and runs away. But leaves her a $50 tip later, which is, anyway, so the night is just like a fucking disaster. Cut to Molly's at home. Dro let himself into her house. Did we know that he had a key? Like, I don't remember that shit. And she's like, oh, okay, you just let yourself in, then I guess. This is also after they had already had a conversation about, like, needing more boundaries because, like, they're in this weird fucking relationship thing. Everybody's in a weird fucking relationship thing. Like, y'all, come on. Anyway, they start talking. She asks for her key back, and he's like, oh, it's like that? Like, why? And she's like, because I asked for boundaries. And he's like, and then she's like, we don't need to all be doing what you and your messy wife are doing. She didn't say it like that. But essentially, she was like, I can't be as messy as you and your wife. He claps back with, don't you talk about what me and my wife do. Ooh. She is basically like, give me my key and get out. And he does. I mean, so far, her know better, do better, putting him in his place shit is working. So, like, get it, Molly. Going back to Issa. She had texted Daniel being like, hey, like, let me know when I can come home. He never texted her back, which again is rude. She gets home finally and he's like, oh yeah, sorry, like I didn't text you back, blah, blah. And she's like, why are we doing this? And so then they have a real conversation where she's going back on what she said. Actually, I do care. I have feelings for you. He's like confused, which is valid, aren't we all? And he's like, I'm confused. You were telling me you moved here because I was close to the freeway. Now you're telling me you have feelings for me. Like, what is going on? And she's like, yeah, like, shit's complicated. But also, like, what are you doing? Because you are bringing women home to fuck in front of me. And you have a history. Like, that's not cool. And he's like, all right. That's literally how it ends. He literally says, all right, and walks out of the room. Later that night, after they have that whole conversation, he comes back out of the room in this amazing plaid long sleeve shirt. I was not ready. It had a denim collar. It looked like it was like thick, like it looked like it was like ready for fall. I was like, so anyway, he comes out in this amazing fucking shirt that has no bearing on the story whatsoever. He sits down. He basically tells her, like, I'm gonna be out tonight. So you have the whole apartment to yourself. I think he's, obviously going to fuck somebody. And she's like, okay, like, thank you. And then she says, thank you for all that you've done for me, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, cool. He leaves. And she sits there for a little bit, but then she checks her phone and decides to go drive anyway. This is why I feel like driving is kind of a coping mechanism for her, or like something that like kind of calms her down when she feels a little bit like out of control, because she had the house to herself. Like, ostensibly the problem was removed, but like what actually is the problem obviously is her feelings for Daniel. So even as he was left, even as she had the place to herself, like she still decided to go drive. That's where that ended. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like, I feel like I'm really forgetting a major plot point. If it comes back to me, maybe next week, I'll remember. Yeah, we're going to be doing this every week, recapping, talking about the episode. We didn't see Lawrence at all. I thought that we'd at least get a, like, hey, I moved, or like, hey, I'm moving, a phone call, something. But we did not see him at all. And I think that's it. Anyway, loved the episode. I feel like it was a very, like, setting up the stage for the season, which, makes sense for a premiere. So super excited to see where everything goes. See if, like, Molly's know better, do better shit holds up. To see if Issa and Daniel either explode or fall in love. Those are the two options. I mean, what else is going to happen? That's a powder keg of a relationship. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. So I'm going to be doing this every week, every Monday in the afternoons. I might do another live reaction recording. I did one last night when I watched the episode. Follow me on Instagram at FemiO to catch that. Follow me on Twitter at _ FemiO, or you can check out my website, www.femio.com, to see more of my reviews and thoughts and like all of that stuff. Yeah, like I said, we're doing this every week. I'm so excited. I'm so glad Insecure is back. It feels like all of my friends have returned. I can finally hang out with them. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.